I'd like to call to order the April 18th, 2022 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission. And I would like to start with our Pledge of Allegiance. So if we all can stand, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and now we'll have a roll call. So first of all, Commissioner Cantola.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Girding.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
We have all of our commissioners this evening, and absent is our City Council liaison, Kevin Zabel. And I'd also like to note that Shannon Redlinger, our Senior Community Development Specialist and liaison for our commission from the city staff, is here, as well as our Community Development Director, Andy Gitzloff. The first item on our agenda this evening is approval of meeting minutes from our February 7th, 2022 meeting. And I would ask if there are any changes that need to be made in the meeting minutes. Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the February 7th, 2022 meeting minutes of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the February 7th, 2022 Oakdale Environmental Management Commission meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. All right. So we'll start out the business part of our meeting this evening, a review of both old and new business, and we'll start with the old business. And we have this on our agenda, the draft EV Ready ordinance and guidelines update. This is something that we have been working on in conjunction with the Planning Commission. And Ms. Reitlinger, would you like to walk us through this? There's been progress since our last meeting.
Yes, there has. So one of the final steps before any ordinance amendments are made to the ordinances themselves is to conduct a public hearing on the draft edits. So that is the last thing that has happened. At the last Planning Commission meeting in April, a public hearing was held. There were no comments from the public on the ordinance amendments themselves. And so the Planning Commission did move forward and recommend approval of the amendments that we have listed. Just to remind you what they are, the actual amendments to the ordinances themselves are on the second and the third page of the memo that you have in front of you. So it's allowing electric vehicle charging stations and accessory use, and then a couple of bullet points that will change the actual ordinances. The rest of the document is just a guidelines document that's not going in the ordinances. That will be a separate document that will be on the website. So technically, Planning Commission did not need to approve that particular section. Again, it's just recommendations. It's not actual requirements for installers of charging stations. But it was important to be able to include that for them just so that they knew the full amount of recommended language changes. So from here, the ordinance amendments as well as the guidelines document will be put in a request for council action for City Council to consider. basically what we're saying is we're just asking them to move to amend the ordinances as drafted and approved by the Planning Commission as supported by the EMC. So that's kind of our next step. Theoretically, that will be happening on April 26th if everything goes according to plan. So then after that, we can kind of wrap up this particular part of our EV-ready community project that's been evolving so far. And once this is done, there is a possibility for the ordinance to change again in the future as technology changes, as infrastructure improves for electric vehicles. So this probably won't be the last that the EMC hears of any of these amendments, but at least for now, this is a good starting place for us.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for your work on this. I think the ordinance, the draft EV-ready ordinance looks good. I think what we had discussed in our review are pretty much addressed in here. And I think at our last meeting, we did have some questions, which you responded to. And at this point, I would open the floor to see if any of the other commissioners have any questions or any issues with any part of the draft here.
Well, I'm just wondering where the guidelines will appear.
Where?
Yeah.
Good question. I'm going to work with our new communications manager to figure out where exactly on the website they should go. I think that Oakdale is in the middle of considering a website upgrade or change or something. So she's kind of doing an overhaul of everything. She'll probably have the final say, but it should be somewhere that makes sense. And I'm hoping that we can do some sort of a social media post as well, just to indicate that this is now on the website. It provides some guidelines. Please check it out.
Good, good.
Any other comments or questions? And I think one important thing to remember here too is that this was drafted and based on a review of other ordinances that are out there. And so we've tried to incorporate the latest as far as best practices by other cities in adopting EV-ready ordinances, and also using the guidance from the Great Plains Institute as well. So I think we have a pretty comprehensive, up-to-date ordinance before us. And of course, as things change with electric vehicles and that, this can always be amended in the future too. So I would like this, and I would look for a motion to recommend that the Environmental Management Commission recommends that the City Council approves the electric vehicle ready zoning ordinance amendments and language here, and also the guidelines.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of recommending that the City Council approve the EV-ready zoning ordinance, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The recommendation is approved. And I take it that's all you need as a recommendation this evening, yeah? All right. Well, that's nice to get that done at this point, and I think you indicated it'll probably go to the City Council at the end of April, beginning of May.
Yep.
So that's great. So we move on to new business, and very happy to see that we are going to have a review of our 2021 GreenStep City metrics. Having an engineering background, I always like data, and so this is a fun part to see our GreenStep City metrics every year. and what we have been working on and progress or lack of progress in certain areas. And obviously, as we look at this data, one thing came to mind was the difference between 2020 and 2021 as far as the pandemic and various things going on. And so also the city of Oakdale is a step 4 and 5 GreenStep city, which is the highest level of GreenStep cities. And we have been at that level for quite a while now, a few years at least, as I recall. And we were one of the first cities to earn the step 5 designation. And so it's something we're proud of and that we work hard every year to continue to make progress so that we can continue to be a step 5 GreenStep city. So again, Shannon, I'll let you walk us through the data reporting as you wish.
Yeah, thank you. You did mention there are a couple of areas where the city saw improvement, a couple of areas where there was maybe a little bit more energy use than 2020. That's okay. We did maintain our step 4 and 5 designation this year, which is wonderful. It's great to have that information on hand very quickly for the EMC to review. I will note that there are a couple of columns here in this table that have green backgrounds. They're highlighted in green. Those are metrics that are considered core to the GreenStep Cities program. So there are a few categories where cities have to make progress in those specific core metrics in order to maintain their designation. These are some of them. And I wanted to call out a few different things. One that I thought was really cool is that we did have a building in Oakdale that maintained or received Energy Star certification last year. So that's always a really great thing. It's businesses taking it upon themselves to make those changes to become more energy efficient. And that's something that we like to kind of call out for the city. A couple of other things, we did have quite a few more trees planted in 2021 than in 2020. So that's very exciting for the city. And you'll notice at the end of this table here, there was a little bit of a difference in the type of solid waste materials that were recycled. Now, these data points are a little bit different than the rest of them. We only have updated metrics through 2020. So this shows variation from 2019 to 2020. But again, because there was positive movement, that did count for this particular reporting period and helped us achieve or maintain our designation for 2021. So like I said, a few kind of really cool things to note here. The last thing that I thought was kind of cool, these last few categories here, 14.1 through 14.7, have to do with individuals who are participating in Xcel Energy's green program. So solar rewards, the wind rewards, if individuals are putting in solar panels, installing solar panels, or participating in a community solar garden, then they're counted in these numbers. Every year, we've been seeing more and more Oakdale residents and businesses participating in these programs. That's a pretty consistent trend. And so I think, because we're seeing this year over year, it gives the EMC a good idea of whether or not in our work plan, we want to focus a little bit harder on promoting some of these programs or making sure that people are aware of these energy efficiency savings, because we're seeing here that the trend is that it's increasing year over year. So I wanted to call that out just because I think that that's something that we will continue to talk about and discuss as a commission.
Yeah, I thank you for that update. And I think the highlight here for me is the metrics 14.1 and 14.2 about renewable energy. And that's great. I think that's a very good trend to see. And it's one of the areas that we've been trying to encourage, and through the Solar Twin Cities program and various other programs. And the one question, we do have some metrics that didn't have data for 2021, and notably the solid waste. And I'm wondering if that's an issue with the solid waste data coming from Washington County at this point.
Yeah, it's just a matter of data collection. I mean, I think that there's, if we wanted to, we had a little bit more, if I was a little bit more on top of the ball, I probably could reach out to our individual haulers and ask them for reported tonnage for the previous year. That is a possibility and something that we can probably do next year if you want slightly more updated data points. But the data source that I've been using is only current from about 2 years prior.
Yeah, and that's because that data goes to Washington County rather than to the city.
Yeah, it could
right
be.
now.
Yeah, and the data source that I'm using in particular is the, oh gosh, I've forgotten what it's called now. It's an indicators, it's a regional indicators data source. So it's it's information for a number of cities that are outside of Washington County as well. They're Twin Cities Metro, Minnesota towns and communities. So I don't know exactly where that data are coming from, but they are current as of 2020.
Okay. Yeah, I think that data would be interesting to get if we could get reliable data in the future. And also, I do see that there was, at least in the solid waste recycled, an increase from 2019 to 2020, the amount recycled. So that's a good trend, and it would be nice to know if that's continuing and if the efforts that we're making to promote recycling and that are working. Yeah, and then the city fleets, there was an increase in miles traveled over 2020, and I'm not sure if that is perhaps due to the pandemic and more, travel occurring rather than with people sheltering in place and working from home, et cetera. So I'm not sure how the impact there is exactly, but yeah, that is one issue. Looks like it's moving in the wrong direction. And again, our city fleet, that's one of our projects, is to look at our fleet and if we have the possibilities of converting to electric vehicles, some of the fleet vehicles to electric. So that will help that metric in the future, perhaps. And the other thing is the miles of reconstructed sidewalks and trails completed in 2021. And this year we're going to be looking at the infrastructure as far as walking and biking in Oakdale. And so that's something that I can see increasing in the future. So any other comments, questions on our metrics here?
Well, thank you again, Shannon. Metric, 14.5 under renewable energy. Do we know, and I apologize for not knowing, when we say non-city entities, do we mean residential and business, or is there a third type of entity that goes into this stat, or is it just those two segments?
It's just those two that are reported by Excel.
By Excel?
Yep,
Okay.
so these data points are all coming from Excel.
Okay, all right. And do you know what the base number is? Like how many total participate in renewable energy?
The community report does say what it is. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's in the hundreds.
Okay. Thank you. Well, that is not an insignificant jump to have 63 more.
Definitely.
I guess I would just ask for a clarification on the two metrics, 14.6 and 14.7. Is that total energy, or is that electricity?
It's total energy. I'd have to get you a good definition of exactly what we're looking at here, but this is just information that I've pulled from Excel energy bills. So it's recording kilowatt hours.
Okay. Yeah, and the reason I ask is that I know the city had initially signed up to get 100% of its electricity from Community Solar Garden. So I'm just wondering if that number is a difference in, if that's total energy, then that makes sense, or if some of the electricity is no longer coming from the solar garden.
Yeah, I think that it's worth asking that question because I do know that that was something that has been indicated on previous reports. This could be a little bit of user error too. I'm pulling information from these bills and trying to interpret it correctly, and there could be something that I'm missing a little bit, but it's worth asking the question.
Okay, I'd be interested in getting that, the detail on that, if it's electricity or total energy. Any other questions, comments before we move on?
Metric 8.6, 162 more trees planted in 2021 than 2020. I think all that credit needs to go to Lauren and the Public Works crew. They did a great job. And if I had an air horns button, I would press it and give them extra credit. Shouts to those guys.
Yes, I think that that is impressive, and that I know that we continue to try to improve the tree canopy in Oakdale, so that's a wonderful thing. And well, later on, I think we'll have an item related to obtaining trees, right?
I've got data.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Shannon, for the update on the metrics here for GreenStep Cities. And I think this is an area that Oakdale can be very proud of, that we're, again, a GreenStep city, and that we have achieved certain sustainability, quality of life goals in the city. And this is wonderful recognition from the state of Minnesota. The next item here is our reviewing our 2022 Washington County Recycling Grant Draft projects. And again, Shannon, you pulled together the draft projects here for our review. I also think it's important that you also have a summary here of the 2021 program, the project outcomes, and that was wonderful to see the progress from 2021, and then the draft for new projects for this year. So I'll let you walk us through again here.
Thank you. Yeah, so here on the memo in front of you, as Chair Miller pointed out, there are quite a number of things that we achieved with the Washington County Recycling Grant in 2021. We did a lot of projects that were focused on encouraging composting. So I think that our most probably out there project last year was to give away free compost pails at the farmers market. And we had a couple commissioners join us for that project. We did also do a video with our commissioners highlighting how the food scraps program actually functions in the real world. So I think that that was probably one of the highlights, at least for me, of last year. And then you'll see here the rest of it. We did quite a bit of promotion, at least as much as we were able last year to do, to help residents understand a little bit more about recycling opportunities, help businesses realize that there are grant funds available for doing recycling projects at their business, not just recycling, but also composting. So we did kind of try to push a lot of educational material throughout the year. As much as we had metrics to show the results of those promotional pushes, we were able to report those to Washington County. So there was a little bit of movement, but I think that one of the places that we can definitely improve tracking is just to try to understand how we can see who's taking advantage of these educational pushes. It was pretty easy to know who all got a compost pail, for example, from the farmer's market. We had to provide names and addresses to Washington County, but some of the other stuff like capturing Facebook impressions or knowing which businesses received a biz recycling postcard and then actually acted on it were a little bit harder to track. So that's something that we can think about for the grant in years to come. I did also include in this memo moving forward a few draft ideas for our 2022 recycling grant. That will be submitted towards the end of this month and then is pending approval. But I really wanted to make sure that the EMC had a chance to look at some of these draft items before we even submit the application, because you guys are the ones that can provide feedback on if we're moving in the right direction with these projects. You'll see here that by and large, the themes for this year, as I've proposed them, are pretty similar to last year. It's just that we're building upon how we're trying to push education around those themes. So, for example, with the composting program, because Washington County is moving from the drop-off program, hopefully, to a curbside pickup program, the idea this year is to focus more on being able to collect composting at potentially community events. If we could do something like Summerfest and have composting along with recycling and normal trash, then I think that's a really great public way to help people get into the mindset of throwing away their food scraps in a compostable way, as opposed to just throwing them away with their typical trash. That's an idea. But see, that's an example of moving a concept from 2021 to a slightly different place in 2022. So like I said, what I'm looking for from you guys is feedback on whether or not these are in general the right themes, and then how we can kind of move the needle on them in ways that both engages you guys, the commission, in the grant this year, and also engages Oakdale residents and businesses. So if you have any ideas, please throw them my way.
Just an immediate comment. I like passionate food scraps organics person here. I like the fact that it moves the tactical, like what we can do every day, to the systems in terms of where this is going. So I like the themes of where you're heading, with where we can head with this. That was just a comment. And I also, to that point, I won't try to prescribe like what specific events would be the best for this. Like my head also goes to, my heart and head also goes to Touch a Truck, because, well, I love trucks, and so does our son. So, but you guys would know best, like which would have the most impact for the audience.
And I think there's an argument to be had, and please provide feedback on this, about whether or not we want to kind of start with one big event or try and pilot the concept at some smaller events. So, the farmer's market has a food truck every time. Do we want to start with something smaller like that to test out the concept of composting and community events, or, do we go big because we have a captive audience at a place like Summerfest or Touch a Truck, that kind of a thing?
Do you have any idea when the residential compost pickup might start?
So the county had proposed late 2022, early 2023. I think that they're right now just in a concept testing phase. So I'm not sure entirely, but hopefully soon.
Does it depend on the haulers at all, or it just depends on the county organization?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. if I had to guess, it's probably a lot dependent on just the administrative side of things.
So if the county gets that program started, will there be compost bins at like the Discovery Center and City Hall and other places where community members might throw something away? Or is it going to be, I mean, will there be big waste bins wherever there are little, lesser ones now?
Yeah, so the curbside pickup program is specifically targeting residents. So that's just for when you're throwing out your recycling and your trash, then there will be an opportunity to throw out your compost as well. Right. That's where it's focused. The grant would be probably a place where we could start to think about whether or not we could put bins in for throwing away compost at city buildings, like City Hall, for example. Okay. So it's a slightly different use of funds and a slightly different program. But we could consider that with the Washington County grant. So, you know, with this proposed project, number one, maybe it is that we provide compost bins at Summerfest, or maybe we think about potentially trying to have something at City Hall as a more permanent bin option. That could be a use of the grant funds.
Back to your previous point, forgive the pun. I like scrappiness. So I think what this commission did very well with the education and outreach for inviting people to sign up for the compost bins at the farmer's market, that could be something that we just emulate or duplicate to test this out, starting small.
Yep, for sure.
If you had it at Summerfest, how would you make it really obvious that that was what people should do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because you know that there are going to be people who are throwing stuff away in the wrong bins and leading to contamination. So I think that is something where we would have to work with Washington County. They've told me that they can help provide consultative advice and services on how we would actually pull this off at a place like Summerfest. It would be a lot of signage, and then I think the question would be on the back end for the hauler who's picking this stuff up, what is the degree of tolerance for contamination that they are willing to put up with? How do they on the back end figure out if the material that's been thrown away in the compost bin are actually compostable or not? And if they're saying like, well, it really needs to be very low amounts of contamination, then maybe we rethink doing this at Summerfest first, because that's a big ask of the public who may or may not know what a compost bin actually is.
That would be a drawback for, excuse me, that would be a drawback for any sort of, like if we were to do a permanent compost bin near City Hall also, that would be something to consider there as well, plus potential pests brought in by compost.
I will say outside of composting, the other 3 projects build upon promoting the biz recycling program, just providing, again, more generalized best practices for recycling for residents and businesses, and then trying to do some sort of an assessment about the recycling needs in our parks. Now, I just wanted to stress again, these are just draft projects, so it really relies on the county to come back and say, yes, these are appropriate use of grant funds. So it could change a little bit, but any feedback, any thoughts on those other 3 categories that I can build into the application?
Well, I really like the biz recycling program. I think that is one area that we haven't made a lot of progress in. So what we can do to spotlight that for Oakdale businesses and to put in the spotlight some of the businesses that have done some good things on, recycling, energy reduction, whatever it might be. But particularly for this, it would be increasing their recycling of material. So that one I really like. And with that, the last one, the promoting residential and commercial recycling in general, I think it would be helpful, having flyers, posters, and getting out to the multifamily housing. I think that's another important area that, I think we've had trouble over the years in getting increased recycling at those multifamily housing projects.
I'm a big fan of number 3 on the list, the needs assessment for recycling in public parks. I've got a park right by my house, and we've got like 2 trash cans, and that's not enough, apparently.
I could see that.
You would think it would be enough, but based on where the trash ends up, apparently not.
Yeah, I also think that one for the public parks would be interesting to do a study on, related to, I imagine the public parks on a holiday weekend, they're gonna, 2 trash cans are not gonna be enough. And how are they, is trash pickup one day a week like it is for residential, or do they come out more often, realizing there was a holiday weekend and more people picnicking in a park, that type of thing. So I think looking at that, and also to get recycling in the parks. I think people are pretty used to the idea of recycling. Just looking at the residential data, it's increasing. The people are recycling more. To have that in a park, it's not something that would be foreign to them. So I think this is also a good project to take a look at, and also to look at how the things are marked to make sure that what is recyclable or not. I run into that where there are, stations that have, for paper or plastic recycling, if it's separated, and, the signage is really important. We have, a easier recycling stream. It's a single sort, so I think it should be fairly easy, but common sense isn't always common. So I think that looking at the type of doing a study on this and just seeing what, including a waste sort of, going through and seeing what people, if there is a contaminated recycling stream because of certain issues or whatever.
Yeah, just one other thing to end cap it. I mean, all of these 4 things make logical sense as a continuation, like in terms of the themes that you are trying to pull out here, like it's barriers and it's access, it's education and promotion, it's, a continual needs assessment. It's very iterative. It builds in discovery, and then there's, the systems piece to it of what we're all trying to do as in alignment with our work plan and comp plan, so it feels very natural.
Good.
Any last comments about the recycling grant draft projects here?
Like I said, if you have any last comments, I am going to be submitting the application here at the end of the month. So just let me know and I will work them into the application.
Great. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So the next item in new business is the 2022 Grow Solar Twin Cities Solar Group Buy Program. And I just got a letter today from the Minnesota Renewable Energy Association, who are leading that program. And the program, as far as the request for proposal, has gone out. And they are looking to extend the request for proposals by 2 weeks. So that would be, proposals will now be due on May 2nd. So the program has been moved out 2 weeks. The task force that will be selecting a developer for a contractor to run the program will be meeting that week of May 2nd to select a contractor for the program. And so right now, the program will be kicking off sometime about mid-May. And the first solar power hour will be in mid-May. The dates are now available, and I have received a Excel spreadsheet with sign-up dates for both in-person and virtual meetings. They're going to do both. The virtual meetings are going to be during the day primarily, and the in-person meetings looks like they're all starting at 6:30. So I'd recommend that we get signed up soon so that we get a date and a type of meeting to host a solar power hour. I guess I'm assuming that we want to do that, and I guess maybe before we go any further, we have done this in the past where we supported the program by having a solar power hour either here at the City Hall or virtually last year. So I would look that, the Environmental Management Commission formally support the program, and maybe if we could have see if there is agreement on that. So I guess I would look for a motion that the Environmental Management Commission will formally support the Twin Cities, Grow Solar Twin Cities program again this year.
I move that we do.
Do I have a second?
I would second.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the Environmental Management Commission supporting the Grow Solar Twin Cities program, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Good. So part of the support will be hosting a meeting, and I guess I would ask, is there a preference of doing this virtually or in person, realizing that the virtual meetings will be like either like 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 11 a.m. or 1 o'clock. Looks like the times for the virtual meetings, the in-person are all, as I mentioned, at 6:30.
Did we get more people last year because they were virtual, do you think?
We did get more people last year,
Do we see a
but
commensurate,
also
do we see a commensurate rise in people signing up? Or was it just more people showing up because it was convenient because it was virtual?
we
Do we know that?
last year the program had more people signing up and getting solar than the previous years combined. So,
So the virtual meetings work.
well, I think it's becoming more popular for one thing. And yeah, the virtual meetings got more people out. Now, also I have to say that we co-hosted a meeting last year, I believe with Eden Prairie. And so there were a lot more people online because we had two cities rather than just Oakdale.
Sure.
But the other nice thing is you can view it later, right? Because they're
Yeah.
recorded, so you
Yeah,
get more of a possibility of learning.
right. And I guess the other option that we have too is if other cities are not signing up to host a program, or we could ask, that, because I would like to do one early, like in May yet, after the program kicks off, to allow people a chance. And then, like you say, if we do a virtual one, we can show it at different times afterwards as well. But, I think that the earlier start, the better. Better chance that residents would be able to get it installed this summer or in the fall, rather than if they come in later. If we wait till the end of the program, that may be difficult depending on how many, if it's a popular program again, they may have to wait because of weather at the end of the year or something. And, in the past, we have also done one like in late May, early June, and then another one in mid-August or something as well. So does anyone want to voice a preference for virtual or in person?
Well, I like the virtual. I thought it went well.
Yeah,
But how would we publicize this? If it occurs in May, what channels do we have that we can get the word out?
Social, city website. Those would be the two big ones, right? Right? If we're doing it short term.
What was the first one?
Social media,
But which one?
all of them.
All of our channels.
I know
Yeah.
last year we also put it on the digital signage board out in front of
Okay.
City Hall. It was advertised that way.
I don't have a real preference. I guess what the biggest ROI would be in the summertime, maybe virtual. I'm just guessing. But I don't have a specific preference either way. How does that answer your question? It definitely does not. So,
I like virtual.
okay, should we shoot for a virtual one? The first virtual meeting is 2 p.m. on Thursday, May 19th. And the next virtual after that is the 15th of June at 1 p.m. Oh, sorry, that's taken. City of Woodbury has that already. Unless we wanted to co-host a virtual with them, that would be a possibility.
You want to do it in May? Let's go for May.
May 19th,
You're the boss, Keith.
Thursday, 2 p.m. Okay, I will sign us up. That's, is everyone in agreement?
and we can
Okay.
do one final plug at that Monday's EMC meeting.
Yep.
Great. All right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this program based on the success last year. I think we have some real opportunity to help grow solar in the Twin Cities. So that's all of our new business at this point, and we're now moving to the other items on our agenda, including our, starting off with our monthly review of our 2022 editorial calendar. And the month of April, environmental stewardship is the theme, and we do have Earth Day this Friday, April 22nd, as well as this week is National Park Week. And I don't know if they coordinated this with the new series on national parks that came out recently, but that is also a help for our national parks. And I think that the social media posts in April, and we've been doing that, if we could emphasize the 3 programs that are noted here, Adopt a Park, Adopt a Drain, and Adopt a Wetland. I think those all would be great for this month to do some posts and with a link to those programs on our website, city website.
Do we have the schedule for the Adopt a Drain for the commissioners?
Oh, yes, I can send that out.
Okay,
Yes.
because I totally forgot what month mine was.
And yes, not a problem. And I think I do have to modify it
We have-
slightly. Yes, because Commissioner Drainville, former Commissioner Drainville is no longer, I think, is no longer with us. So I will change that a little bit and then send out a revised.
Okay.
No longer with the commission.
No longer with the commission. She is alive and well. Sorry to make it seem like that was not the case.
Momentary panic. I was like, what happened?
I know, what? No, she's great. She's great.
What did
Yeah.
you do?
Nothing. She is
I know.
wonderful.
Okay,
The previous schedule showed April as Commissioner Cantola's month.
Oh,
That's right, it is. Yeah.
Commissioner Wilson, you're up next.
I am?
You are up next in May.
Oh, good, thank you. I looked at all my old emails, I could not find it.
and then May is bicycling and transportation month, and that includes a Bike to Work Day on May 20th. The National Bike to Work Week is that same week, and it's National Bike Month. And so that's a good way we can promote our bike trails as well on social media next month. And I think an important part of that is the second bullet that you have there is bicycle safety and education. And I think that's really an important aspect, getting people comfortable with getting out there on their bike. I know there's a lot of traffic. I know I sometimes feel I'm taking my life in my hands when I go to do shopping and on my bike in Woodbury in particular. But I think that some education about bike safety is a good way to approach that too. And there's a Minnesota Bicycle Alliance that does that sort of thing, and that would be a resource to maybe promote as well on bike safety.
The Oakdale is a member of the Age-Friendly Community Development, and AARP has a booklet that they send out for free on bike safety, and it's a really good one. So if you needed multiple copies, I could get some, and then we could have it here available in the City Hall.
Yeah, that'd be great.
since we're on the topic, I'd also just want to say the topic of bicycles, that we are in the process of relaunching our bike and ped plan update that had been started in 2019 and then came to a halt in 2020, and we are working on re-engaging that now in 2022. So the commission will probably be tapped at some point to provide feedback on the update. I don't know that it will happen in May to coincide with our theme for the month, but we will be doing more with that in the coming months. So you'll be getting updates and probably will be asked for your feedback.
And I just point out as well that at the bottom of the page here, we have that you have made social media posts in March and April, including the Arbor Day tree giveaway event and indoor garage sale at the Discovery Center, et cetera. I think this is a good add to have those, what has been done and so far. Yeah, that was good to see.
Is there any way to include some metrics on these ones that have been done? And I'll acknowledge too that the city is now increasing its staff capacity. So I just want to be compassionate with that request.
Yeah, I think we had been using Hootsuite for a while, and I believe the city is still using it. If that is the case, then there are some metrics that we can pull directly from that. To your point, we do now have our new communications manager, and she will probably have a better handle on what our capacity is to get data. But I can add that if it's of interest to the commission moving forward, at least as much as we can get information on. I know Hootsuite gives you information on like Facebook impressions and that sort of thing. I don't know about Instagram or Twitter beyond just sharing how many likes a post got.
Sure.
Facebook gives everybody those, and when you post it, it's
That's
very easy
true.
to find those, so Hootsuite would be able to collect those easily. Those other ones hide that data.
Yes.
Tricky.
You gotta pay for it.
And I'm wondering too, is there an easy way, again, acknowledging the capacity that we now have moving forward, to look at June or maybe like a quarter worth of time in terms of the editorial calendar frequency?
Yeah. Well, considering the editorial calendar was something that the EMC covered back in November, the full annualized calendar, then yeah, we can absolutely add in.
Throw it.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So I can do 3 months
Sure.
of a review.
Yeah.
And now that we do have a communications manager, then it'll be easier for me to say, here are the themes, and she can help us come up with posts, because that had been on me, and that's not my forte. So
It's not your jam. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, any other comments on the editorial calendar?
It's been very effective.
Yeah, I think this has been a good addition since we started doing this last year, and I think it's a good way to promote on a monthly basis what's going on. All right, the next item is our commissioner updates. And so we have updates on any items that you may be working on and for this commission or related to our environmental work.
Would that be a commissioner update or a liaison update?
Commissioner update.
Ooh. We'll wait for a second then. No, if you guys want tree board stuff, we can talk about tree board stuff.
I was going to talk about conference real quick.
You do it.
Got it. April 30th, here's a general plug. We are, if anybody's on the listserv, the Environmental Management Commission listserv that we get via email, there is a annual conference that they are reconstituting in a post-COVID, sure, in-person sort of way. I believe it's in Ridgedale, I want to say, but it's on April 30th from is it 10 to 1 or 10 to 2, I believe? Anyway, check the meads, check the feeds, April 30th, be there. I'm going. Want to ride share? All about it.
Better bikes.
Not from my house, but I get it.
We're going.
Okay, we could do public transit. Could do bus.
I'd like to go.
Sold.
Is it April 30th?
April 30th, it is a Saturday.
I would second that, if you can make that meeting, please, it's a great networking event with other commissions, and in the past, they've really had some good programs sharing best practices in different cities. Unfortunately, I've got another environmental meeting that day, but so I won't be able to be there, but it is a great event.
I'll take copious notes. And then I guess, speaking of sharing, I think one of the things that I'm noodling on and processing is, in the interest of things that are of mutual benefit, like cross-commission, is how do we identify action items or minutes or just kind of talking points in terms of what other commissions are working on, right? As an intersectionality of all of our work together as a whole, right? Supporting Oakdale's growth, because there may be areas of intersection with comprehensive plan or our work plan that we may not know about that other commissions are working at. So if there's I'm just opening that up for comment and feedback and discussion. I'm just starting to think about how to think about that in terms of disseminating that information. So don't have an answer.
Chair meetings.
Mm-hmm.
It's like chairs getting together and meeting and talking about those things.
What?
Yeah. You should do that. Trying to make more work for you, Keith. That's what I'm doing.
Or could it be something that it's a chair initiative supported by a vice chair? Something.
Go for it.
Go for it. Okay. Great discussion.
I'd like to report on something I brought up in our February meeting. I had talked to a CERT staff member about Solar for Schools program, and Excel is going to have a program, Solar Rewards for Schools, and it should start this summer. And so I did send a note to our school district 622, and received a nice note back that they actually have someone on the 622 staff who is LEED certified person, and LEED is leadership in environmental and energy design, and who had heard about this program but wanted to get more information. So I sent her a note back with the CERT staff member's name, who I talked to, Peter Lindstrom, and hopefully they've been in contact now. I haven't heard anything further about that, but they are looking at ways that they can promote in these school upgrades. Tartan High School, Skyview is just finishing up work there, and also the Eagle Point Elementary School are three right in this area that doing major renovations. So yeah, it'd be good that if they can look into solar upgrades at those schools, and also energy efficiency as they complete the redesign. So I'm hoping, I was really excited to see that they've got someone leading a project for these school upgrades that's LEED certified, so that's wonderful. That's all I have, so I think we can move on to
Sure. well, I will not be able to attend the conference on April 30th because I will be at Walton Park giving away trees. So the tree giveaway for this year was all pre-registry. It's gonna be drive-through. It's closed now. We have all 200 individual trees accounted for, which is super exciting. Last year, we had some no-shows, and we were able to give away some trees to interested parties who showed up at the end or at the beginning, and we told them to come back. But there may be a potential for that if people don't claim their trees, but that's an if. We do, just a kind of a quick overview, there are 4 tree species we're giving away. We're gonna give away a blue beech, which is like a little, well, not little, it's a smallish tree, kind of max out at 30 feet in perfect conditions after many, many years. But nice little ornamental tree, common hackberry, which is a bigger shade tree, a autumn brilliant serviceberry is the serviceberry we're giving away, which I'm excited about. That's another small shrubbier tree. And then we're gonna do juniper this year, like a medium-sized evergreen juniper. So lots of cool trees to give away. The people who claim them are gonna be very excited. And then there will be some master gardeners around answering questions on how to plant. And if anybody has questions and they just wanna come talk to a master gardener, they could come do that. Do you guys have any questions about the tree giveaway?
No questions. I do have a comment.
Yeah,
Awesome diversity.
yeah. We've been working on that. We're not giving away a crabapple this year, and I'm pretty excited about it.
That's wonderful.
Too many of those.
It is. That's wonderful. Oh, that's great.
And then just one more tree board update. We have been looking at, and city council has been looking at, the tree preservation ordinances in the city. We've been working on how we can, you know, especially with new development coming in the very near future, how to protect the trees and forest land that's already there, and what the penalty will be for, you know, removing too many trees and like replanting and re-diversifying. If anybody's interested in that, that's all available in the minutes from the last tree board meeting. We don't have to go into it now, but I was excited about that. Anybody from the city have a comment on that?
Cool that's happening.
It's good. We're stoked.
So are there any other commissioner updates? All right. Are there any community development department updates?
Everyone. Andy Gitzloff, Community Development Director, City of Oakdale. Do you want to put that on the slideshow on full screen? That'll make it work. So I just wanted to come tonight just to kind of give an update on, you know, there's always a lot of stuff going on the development side, and there's also sometimes just going through this list, there's an opportunity to kind of connect the dots with things that the EMC is working on and what the other committees are. So what I wanted to do was just to spotlight one project in particular that was recently approved by council, and then kind of give you a list of what are the other things that are going on. So that project is the impact apartments. I think we talked about that a couple months ago. New development over the northeast corner of 694, 494, and 94 at the what's called the Helmo station. So the BRT is going to be coming in here on an angle and crosses over on a new bridge that will connect over into Woodbury. So changing the dynamic of this area. For a while, it was and halfway built out as the Oaks Business Park as industrial. Then with BRT, that was a chance for the city to revision this area. And what's really exciting is we've got these development proposals, and this one in particular, which was actually approved by council earlier this month, is really going to add a key focal point to help to build out the entire development. So this is a site plan of the impact apartments. So north is to the north here, south would, and 4th Street, south would be 94. So basically what they're doing, it would be 321 unit apartment building, which is, at least it's going to be the tallest one in Oakdale at 7 stories. So the 7th story will be containing a like gathering space and rooftop pool for tenants. So this would be more of the amenity-rich type of rental that's becoming more popular in the Twin Cities. Directly across the street is the transit station. So we're hopeful that this will reduce the demand overall for parking within the site, so there can be more space used for other uses. They are showing a parking area on the site to the south, so the developer Norhart owns that site, and that would be a temporary parking until that building gets built there. That would be another residential building. It wouldn't have the retail component. So the big thing that still is driving the parking, even though we can reduce it a little bit on the residential, is the restaurant component on the front, on that main level, and just to get financing for the restaurant, needing to have enough parking for that. A couple other features, shared stormwater ponding. It's actually pretty unique how this has been set up. The ponds are already mostly in place, but that pond in the north end, not only does it treat stormwater, but it serves as a nice amenity to walk by and, ducks in the pond, those sorts of things. And it's treating water from, you can't say this is somebody's, this is someone's water and this is someone else's, but you can kind of do some calculations to say how much hard service you have, and it can kind of get shared through there. And this helps to be able to put your ponds in central locations versus like spreading them all out everywhere and using up land. So this actually drains from the Gold Line BRT project and the city roadways and the development project, all with a nice spreadsheet and formulas that lay that out. Another thing too about connecting the dots on this one. So as this project was moving forward, Shannon was able to give them updates on the EV ordinance that the city was working on and sent over initial draft. And this would be more of a building permit level thing for them to look at, but they're definitely interested. They said their owner is a big, electric vehicle, owns a Tesla guy, and wants to see that incorporated into the project. So that I imagine as we get into the building permits is something we'll be working with them on to see if they're going to follow through on that. I'm not quite sure about solar. I think the rooftop pool is taking up a lot of that space to soak up those rays. But overall, exciting project. Here's just a rendering of it from this is from the transit station looking to the east, the front of the building. And this would be that ponding element. So this is from the north looking to the south. So that's the impact project. As you can see, there's quite a list of other things that are out there. Our inspectors have been busy essentially all winter. Willowbrook is continuing to build the single-family units, and they're starting on their townhome units too. The Continental rental apartments also are under construction. So if you haven't been over there lately, it's a lot of activity going on. I think some of these were mentioned too. Tartan High School, their permits are in to do a renovation and expansion project at the high school. It'll be pretty substantial. The Guardian Angels food shelf, that's in operation, but they're still doing some work there with the pole building. So basically that's the food shelf that's gone in. They've built a new building and they're repurposing another building for food storage that used to be for equipment for the church. So definitely serving uses that are high demand. Home furniture, they're looking at mid-May for a soft opening, and the Memorial Day weekend for their grand opening event. So when details of that come out, we'll share those with you all as well. I know furniture stores and their holidays are always important. Animal Emergency and Referral Center, they're building too right away. I don't have an opening date set for them yet, but definitely keeping folks busy. Forefront, they had a warehouse project. It's 200,000 square feet on the west end of the site adjacent to 694. So they're hoping to break ground in June and then opening a year from now. And then lastly, the Cornerstone Village project, which is kind of in that Helmo area too. It's at the intersection of 4th Street and Helmo. They're going through their process of getting their things ready for closing, getting permits in. They want to break ground this summer as well. So a lot of stuff out there in the field. The Planning Commission's been busy lately with application reviews. Willowbrook is continuing to build out. One of the big things you'll see happening is 40th Street. So right now that's like a rural section, straight roadway. The design of that with this project turns it into a curving road with a roundabout in the center and bike and ped facilities on it, really going to change the nature of that. So the city is actually going to be the ones that contracts to build that project as part of the development, agreement. So that will be out for bid and hopefully starting this summer. And you'll see the existing roadway being closed down in advance of that work happening. Rios de Aquaviva Church is proposal off of Stillwater Boulevard and Hamlet Street. It's a vacant parcel surrounded by a residential neighborhood. So churches are allowed by federal law in basically any zoning district. They will need a conditional use permit, and they're working on a parking arrangement right now. So that's going to a workshop with council on the 26th, and then May 10th for approval. Forefront, back to, again, they're looking now at their southern outlet, so right in front of the building, trying to do more of a mixed use, potentially some retail, commercial, and a residential component as part of that. So, right now that's kind of historically kind of a 9 to 5, campus, and then there's not much going on there after hours or on the weekends. And this could be really a way to to activate that area, but also provide more resources, more activities for people to do in the Willowbrook neighborhood. And then besides that, we've got a bunch of projects out there that are still just kind of doing their due diligence. Priority Courier is looking at and relocating their headquarters to 50th Street and 694. That site, I think that they're running into some challenges with, it is a lot of wetlands there, and I believe at the city, we don't do the wetland permitting. It's done by the watershed district, and we hold them responsible for getting those permits and working with Army Corps and DNR, but definitely paying attention as well. But they did purchase the site, so I would expect to have a proposal in some format come back to us soon. They're also looking at doing a performing arts theater at 55th and Hadley. That's up over by Fleet Farm, where I guess the second roundabout is. We just got concept plans, and they haven't really advanced that much either. And then Cedric's Landing, which is up sort of adjacent to the south side of 694, they're looking at doing a expansion to add another building. There's a lot of complications with this because, again, it's the former municipal par 3 golf course. It's zoned vacant right now in our zoning, and in our comp plan, it's guided that way as well. So one of the interests the city has had is, can you get a trail access through that former par 3 or some other way to get public use out of it? So I think that's going to be part of any sort of agreement with a developer, that what does the city get in return? Because right now it's basically zone vacant and open space. But if there's, park amenities or trail access to that open space, that might be a good trade-off for allowing a little bit of additional development. But that's another one where the watershed needs to work out, and there's some high-quality wetlands in there too to figure that out. And then lastly, Oakdale Marketplace, Oakdale Station. So Oakdale Station is the area that LA Fitness is in, and just to the south, and Oakdale Marketplace is where the Target is located, Speedway. So there's been a lot of vacant parcels there for a while, so the city re-guided that as mixed use last year. And there are 2 developers looking at doing residential projects in that area. There are some sewer capacity issues that we're working through with them, but I think that the general sense is if you could have some residential, so rooftops in that area can help to fill out some of that remaining retail space by having more in the area, and Lake Elmo's growth too helps with that as well. So that's the project list. Maybe I'll just hit these three, and then I'm happy to answer any questions or clarifications on any of these too. Shannon mentioned it, the bike and ped master plan update. So this was one that, again, it was put on the shelf during COVID, and it's been a priority to get this going again. And I'll say that Shannon's been doing the legwork of working with our consultant to revise the scope of work and make the adjustments. And she'll be the day-to-day project manager on that study, so taking on that role as well. So I am fully confident she'll keep all of you informed and get your input as part of that study going forward. We're also working on Willowbrook Parks Programming Master Plan and Design. So basically Willowbrook, the developer through park dedication gave the city 45 acres of land, but only a little bit of cash because we got so much in land. So we're working enough to do design for 3 parks that is part of that development, but we'll still have to figure out a way that we're kind of with funding sources to actually pay for putting those parks in. But the first step to that is figuring out what the design is. So that process is kicked off last week. Hope within a couple months to have a better idea of park amenities. And we'll do an online survey that we'll want to get out to residents too, to just, part of like what amenities, the idea with those parks is they're public, they're part of our system. It's important, what the theme is of Willowbrook and, open spaces and things, but there's other needs that we have as for parks within the city, and getting community input in that and talking to the different departments is definitely something that we want to do as part of that process. And then lastly, Glenbrook Small Area Plan. So basically, Glenbrook neighborhood is kind of in the area of Geneva and 36 and sort of the northeast corner. It's a bunch of different, it was once zoned as like a residential subdivision, and then over time there was commercial uses and industrial, and the street grid doesn't connect. The Cedric Landing is up there too, in that old par 3 golf course. The Fleet Farm is on the eastern end. So the idea is let's take a closer look, do a study of that area and see how we can look at land use, look at transportation, look at how we connect to the parks and open space amenities. So we have a scope of work for that that's been developed. And Thursday of this week, we applied for a grant with Washington County CDA to pay for half of that study. So we should know pretty quickly whether we're going to get that or not, and that would allow us to start on that one this summer. So kind of a lot of stuff going on, and I don't think I covered all of it, but I'm happy to just answer any questions about these projects or anything else that's on your mind.
So thank you very much. That was beyond comprehensive. The church, 7287 Stillwater.
Yes.
If I'm thinking of the right parcel, there were 2 new residences built this past year. I think it was formerly like a 4-acre parcel-ish, but I believe adjacent to it is a loop tech, like oil storage. Is that gonna stay, or is this church gonna?
So yeah, their parcel, it's kind of wedged behind that.
Okay, so it's an easement and then the parcel.
Yeah, and
basically.
then they'll have access off of Hamlet.
By that Century or that.
Yeah, Xfinity over
Xfinity.
there. And then they'll still have the access off of Stillwater Boulevard, but that'll be just for like emergency vehicles, like fire trucks and things like that. But yeah, those are uses that are, because there's the tanks there and everything, they're really hard to move.
Okay.
So I would expect that's going to be there for a while yet.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Just curious in terms of how you're thinking about that. So yeah.
Just related to Helmo Station, the bridge across 94, I think in the past that was talked about, it's just going to be a rapid transit and pedestrian biking bridge, no traffic. Is that correct?
It will have 2 lanes of traffic for general purpose. So 2 lanes of traffic, a trail on one side, and then 2 lanes exclusively for the BRT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was, so there was a separate grant through regional solicitation funds for that project, and then that got bundled into the overall Gold Line project. And I think when we talk with, I mean, from one of the benefits that'll have too is it gives you the exclusive BRT advantage over that bridge, but Radio Drive is, so congestion, it provides a nice kind of alternative to be able to connect, Woodbury and Oakdale, but do it in a way that we're not overbuilding either. Hadley or Helmo is a collector road, not like an arterial or anything.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Yeah, the congestion, especially for bicycling across Radio Drive on over 94 is not
fun.
very comfortable for biking.
Not fun.
There'll also be a pedestrian, 4 streets getting replaced too as part of Gold Line, so there'll be, right now there's no pedestrian amenities, and it's like that high it's not a good situation, so
Yeah,
that'll help with that as well. And then, which was the other one? 120, that'll have a pedestrian connection over it, and then I think it's a combination on road and then adjacent trail along Hudson Boulevard. So if you're thinking about, the end of this, a bike route basically from Woodbury, you'll be able to take it essentially to Sunray into St. Paul, and then from there, there's other kind of trail networks and things that you can connect with. Still some gaps, but it creates a nice option. Take transit out and bike back. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. This is my former, life as the transit planner.
right. No, that's great. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people that commute from Woodbury into 3M on their bike will be happy with these new plans as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. We appreciate that. It's really wonderful to see the development going on, and that things are being considered, like the EV and the biking, pedestrian, making it easier to take alternative modes of transportation. Of course, that's what the Gold Line's all about, get people to use mass transit here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's all we have on the agenda, unless there are any final comments by any commissioners? No? Okay. Our next regular meeting is on Monday, May 16th at 7 p.m. right here in the council chambers. And I would look for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning our April 18th, 2022 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.